So this year I played 3 Ubisoft games. The first one was Watch Dogs Legion. Now if you watch my review for it, you know that I really liked the ambition behind the game, but felt like the execution was lacking. The idea of playing as anyone you come across in the city is very cool, but it leads to a bunch of issues that come with the lack of a central protagonist. Then I played Assassin's Creed Valhalla, for which I also did a review for, and once again I was pretty disappointed with it. Some people really didn't like my opinion on the game, which is fair, but yeah, I won't go into too much detail. As someone who's been a fan of Ubisoft games for almost 20 years by now, I was pretty sad. I wanted to love these games, but sadly they just didn't click with me. But then Immortals Fenyx Rising came around, and suddenly there was light at the end of the tunnel. After playing around 20 hours of it, I can safely say that it's my favorite Ubisoft game of 2020 for many reasons. Want to know a couple of them? Well, here are my thoughts on Immortals Fenyx Rising. All jokes aside, you probably heard 1,000 times already that Immortals is basically the love child of Breath of the Wild and Assassin's Creed Odyssey, which is pretty accurate. You have the Greek world and mythology of Odyssey and pretty much everything else from Zelda. You have a stamina-based climbing system, different biomes with the boss world at the center, you must climb these tall statues to reveal the map, you can tame horses, you have physics-based puzzles, you can move objects with magic powers, and the list goes on. But I'm not complaining. As someone who doesn't have a Nintendo Switch, I'm happy to finally have a game that scratches the same itch. Despite all those similarities, it would be a shame not to give Immortals a try, because this has to be one of the most fun games I've played this year. It would also be at the top of the list for chillest game of the year. If you just want to relax, explore a gorgeous cartoonish world, find treasures, do some puzzles, this is the perfect game for you. It's not groundbreaking by any means, but it nails pretty much everything it does. You play as Phoenix, a new winged demigod on a quest to save the Greek gods and their home from a dark curse. Take on mythological beasts, master the legendary power of the gods, and defeat Typhon, the deadliest titan in Greek mythology, in an epic fight for the ages. As serious as this may sound, Immortals is surprisingly funny. I think it's safe to say that in 2020, Ubisoft clearly wanted their games to be more lighthearted. Watch Dogs has an AI that constantly puts out one-liners, and Valhalla has a quest in which you must empty a house full of feces. Yep, that's an actual quest. But unlike these two games, Immortals actually made me laugh, or at the very least, chuckle. And even when jokes didn't land properly, they still had some charm to them. You know, like when a kid tries to tell you a joke but fails miserably and then you're like, "Aw, that's cute." Well, kinda like that. They constantly make fun of the Greek pantheon and are not afraid to explore the absolute nonsense of it all. But this is as deep as the story gets. The game does have multiple narrative threads, little side stories, a couple of twists and mythological tales to hold the experience together, but this is not what's gonna pull you back into this game. But the exploration and the beauty of the world itself absolutely will. As soon as you set foot into the open world, 4 main regions are available to you. Each of them contains a god that you must help. Thankfully, all the regions have a very distinct look and feel to them, which makes the feeling of discovery even greater. What's cool is that you can literally go wherever you want in any order at your own pace. Much like Breath of the Wild, you can try to go into the final boss world right from the very beginning, but you will most likely get destroyed. So what you do is start exploring to find better gear, resources to upgrade your character, and so on. You climb one of these big statues and start to scout the area for possible opportunities. There are tons of different activities that will either lead to combat encounters, puzzle solving, or challenges. Then you go back to your home base and invest all the stuff you found into weapon upgrades, new skills, powers, and things like that. That main gameplay loop of going into the world and upgrading your character in preparation for the final fight is super fun. And the main reason why is because the world is like this massive and beautiful playground filled with a very impressive variety of stuff to do. I was afraid that the game might become repetitive and tedious after some time, but no, not at all. Immortals constantly manages to change things up, especially in its puzzles. You'll find puzzles everywhere in this game. You can find them seamlessly while exploring, but also in these vaults that are basically mini Zelda dungeons. Most of them are fairly easy to complete, but provide a decent enough amount of challenge to remain interesting. Fortunately, almost all of them are unique and you'll never stumble on the same exact patterns and designs. Well, except for a couple. One thing I also really enjoyed was seeing puzzles with multiple solutions, which means you can use your imagination to solve things in your own way. You can literally just chop down a tree someplace else and use the wood as weight for pressure plates, instead of following the solution laid out by the developers. Figuring out alternative ways to solve the puzzles is very enjoyable, making each reward feel even more earned. And those rewards play into the progression system, which is much better than I thought it would be. You have the basic health, stamina, and weapon upgrades, but you can also make your potions more effective and unlock a bunch of different abilities and godly powers that will have a significant impact on how you approach traversal and especially combat. If you watch my Assassin's Creed Valhalla review, you would know that I wasn't the biggest fan of its combat. And even if Immortals does have a somewhat similar system, I enjoyed it a lot more this time around, simply because the game doesn't try to be realistic. So seeing characters almost dance around the battlefield like ballerinas didn't bother me at all. The animations are flashy, more polished, and lead to more dynamic encounters. The other thing is, well, you have superpowers, and alternating between those and your standard melee attacks is a blast. But honestly, the single most important thing you have to know about Immortals is that it's a ridiculous amount of fun. It's also extremely relaxing, and sometimes that's all you need. A beautiful sandbox filled with colors and stuff to collect. Playing this game made me realize how much I missed the classic adventure games of my youth. Zelda, Jak and Daxter, Okami. These games were not about complexity, but simply about the feeling of wonder you get by exploring exotic, bright, and colorful environments. Playing Immortals reminded me of the times I would come back from school and just dive into cartoonish worlds and simply disappear from the face of the earth for 2 hours. As much as I loved realistic, immersive, and complex experiences, sometimes you just need, well, a video game. Something that will put a smile on your face. And I'm very happy to see a company as big as Ubisoft still give games like Immortals a chance. And you should too, because even if it has a lot of Ubisoft's modern design tropes, it does it with creativity and heart. It's a game that doesn't take itself seriously at all, and that simply wants to offer the player a comfortable, cozy, but super addictive and rewarding experience. I'm about 20 hours in, I still have 2 gods to free and a bunch of side stuff to do, and even if Cyberpunk is now officially out, I'm still gonna play Immortals on the side and try to get that platinum trophy. Yep, it's that good. Thank you guys for watching my review of Immortals Fenyx Rising. I know it's a weird choice to release this video on the launch day of Cyberpunk, but I wanted to take this opportunity to remind you that tonight is the Game Awards. I'm not going to do a stream or anything like that, but I will be on Discord throughout the whole entire night so we can share our thoughts on the winners and discuss the different reveals and announcements. If you're not already a part of the From the Attic Discord community, the link is in the description below. Depending on what gets announced, I should also have trailer breakdowns and things like that tomorrow and the day after. I'm super excited for this. Finally, don't worry about my Cyberpunk review, I'm installing the game as we speak on my PS5. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys later.